Good evening, everybody. This is Matt Kramer here from Newport Beach. I'm going to read for you number 75 of the Federalist papers. I read 74 this morning, and that will be uploaded tonight when I get home. So here we go. The president, 75 by Alexander Hamilton. The president is to have power, quote, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. Though this provision has been assailed on different grounds with no degree of vehemence, I scruple not to declare my firm persuasion that it is one of the best digested and most unexceptionable parts of the plan. One ground objection is the trite topic of the intermixture of powers, some contending that the president ought alone, let me turn a page here, ought alone possess the power of making treaties, and others that it ought to have been exclusively deposited in the Senate. Another source of objection is derived from the small number of persons by whom a treaty may be made. Of those who espouse this objection, a part are of opinion that the House of Reps ought to have been associated in the business, while another part seem to think that nothing more was necessary than to have substituted 2/3 of all the members of the Senate to 2/3 of the members present. As I flatter myself, the observations made in the preceding number 74, upon this part of the plan must have sufficed to place it to a discerning eye in a very favorable light. I shall here content myself with offering only some supplementary remarks, principally with a view to the objections which have been just stated. With regard to the intermixture of powers, I shall rely upon the explanations already given in other places of the true sense of the rule upon which that objection is founded, and shall take it for granted, as an inference from them, that the union of the executive with the Senate in the article of treaties is no infringement of that rule. I venture to add that the particular nature of the power of making treaties indicates a peculiar propriety in that union. Though several writers on the subject of government place that power in the class of executive authorities, yet this is evidently an arbitrary disposition. For if we attend carefully to its operation, it will be found to partake more of the legislative than of the executive character, though it does not seem strictly to fall within the definition of either of them. The essence of the legislative authority is to enact laws, or in other words, to prescribe rules for the regulation of the society, while the execution of the laws and the employment of the common strength, either for this purpose or for the common defense, seem to comprise all the functions of the executive magistrate. Either for this purpose, the power of making treaties is plainly neither the one nor the other. It relates neither in the execution of the subsisting laws nor the enaction of new ones, and still less to an exertion of the common strength. Its objects are contracts with foreign nations which have the force of law but derive it from the obligations of good faith. They are not rules prescribed by the sovereign to the subject, but agreements between sovereign and sovereign. The power in question seems, therefore, to form a distinct department, and to belong properly neither to the legislative nor to the executive. The qualities elsewhere detailed as indispensable in the management of foreign negotiations point out to the executive as the most fit agent in those transactions, while the vast importance of the trust and the operation of treaties as laws plead strongly for the participation of the whole or portion of the legislative body in the office of making them. Treaties, probably. However proper or safe it may be in governments where the executive magistrate is a hereditary monarch, to commit to him the entire power of making treaties, it would be utterly unsafe and improper to entrust that power to an elected magistrate of 4 years' duration. It has been remarked upon another occasion, and the remark is unquestionably just, that an hereditary monarch, though often the oppressor of his people, has personally too much stake in the government to be in any material danger of being corrupted by foreign powers, but that a man raised from the station of a private citizen to the rank of chief magistrate, possessed of a moderate or slender fortune, and looking forward to a period not very remote when he may probably be obliged to return to the station from which he was taken, might sometimes be under temptations to sacrifice his duty to his interest, which it would require superlative virtue to withstand. As avaricious man might be tempted to betray the interests of the state to the acquisition of wealth, an ambitious man might make his own aggrandizement by the aid of a foreign power the price of his treachery to his constituents. The history of human conduct does not warrant the exalted opinion of human virtue which would make it wise in a nation to commit interests of so delicate and momentous a kind as those which concern its intercourse with the rest of the world, to the sole disposal of a magistrate created and circumstanced as would be the POTUS. To have entrusted the power of making treaties to the Senate alone would have been to relinquish the benefits of the constitutional agency of the President in the conduct of foreign negotiations. It is true that the Senate, that the Senate would, in that case, have the option of employing him in his capacity, but they would also have the option of letting it alone and pique or cabal might induce of it alone and pique or cabal might induce the latter rather than the former. Besides this, the ministerial servant of the Senate could not be expected to enjoy the confidence and respect of foreign powers in the same degree with the constitutional representatives of the nation, and of course will not be able to act with an equal degree of weight or efficacy, while the Union would from this cause lose a considerable advantage in the management of the external concerns. The people would lose an additional security which would result from the cooperation of the executive, though it would be imprudent to confide in him solely so important a trust. Yet it cannot be doubted that his participation in it would materially add to the safety and of the society. It must It must indeed be clear that a demonstration that the joint possession of the power in question by the President and Senate would afford a greater prospect of security than the separate possession of it by either of them. But whoever has maturely weighed the circumstances which must concur in the appointment of a president would be satisfied that the office will always bid fair to be filled by men of such characters as to render their concurrence in the formation of treaties peculiarly desirable, as well on the score of wisdom as on that of integrity. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because it's getting dark, so I'm gonna read the rest at a different location. I'll see you guys in a bit.